You ever wonder why nothing goes faster than light? Not because we lack the technology, not because our rockets are too weak, because the universe itself says no. 290,792,458 meters per second. That number. Why that number? Why not 300 million? Why not 500 million? What makes this specific velocity special? Most people stop thinking right there. They accept it like accepting gravity. Things fall down. Light goes this fast. Done. But accepting is not understanding. When you dig into what enforces this limit, when you ask what physically prevents you from crossing it, you find something so bizarre it rewrites what you think matter and time actually are. The speed limit is not painted on a cosmic road sign. It is the road itself. Let me start with motion. Simple motion. You throw a ball forward at 10 meters per second. The ball moves 10 meters per second relative to you. Now you are on a train moving at 20 meters per second. You throw the same ball forward at 10 meters per second. Someone standing still watching you sees the ball moving at 30 meters per second. Speeds add. Asked her, this is obvious. This is how the world works. Except it does not work this way for light. Turn on a flashlight. Light leaves at 299,792,458 meters per second. Now you are on a spaceship, moving at half that speed. You turn on the flashlight pointing forward. Common sense screams, the light should now travel at 1.5 times its normal speed. But it does not. It still moves at exactly 299,792,458 meters per second. You accelerate the spaceship to 90% light speed. You measure again. Same speed, 99%. Same speed. 99.9999%. Still the same speed. Light does not care how fast you are moving. It always moves at the same rate relative to you. Always. This should shatter everything you understand about velocity. If you run towards someone throwing a ball at you, the ball approaches faster. If you run away slower, basic addition, basic subtraction. Light ignores this completely. In the 1800s, physicists thought they understood why. They believed space was filled with a substance called luminiferous ether. Light waves traveled through this ether, like sound waves traveled through air. If you move through the ether, light should appear faster in one direction and slower in another. Just like sound seems different when you move toward or away from its source. Two scientists, Albert Michelson and Edward Morley, built an incredibly precise device to measure Earth's motion through this ether. Earth orbits the Sun at 30 kilometers per second. Surely that motion would create an ether wind. Surely light would travel at different speeds depending on which direction you measured. They set up their experiment. They measured. They found nothing. Zero difference. Light traveled at the same speed in every direction regardless of Earth's motion. They checked their equipment. They repeated the measurement, same result. The ether was not there. Or if it was, it behaved in ways that made no sense whatsoever. This created a crisis. Either light was special in some completely unknown way, or something fundamental about space and time was wrong. Albert Einstein chose the radical path. He said, forget the ether. Throw it out completely. Start with one assumption. The speed of light is identical for all observers, no matter how they are moving. Just accept that as a basic fact about the universe. Then work out what that means for everything else. What it meant was insane. If light always moves at the same speed for everyone, then time itself cannot be universal. Your clock and my clock do not tick at the same rate if we are moving relative to each other. Time is not a fixed background against which events happen. Time is flexible. It stretches and compresses depending on motion. When you move faster, your time slows down. Not appears to slow down, actually slows down. Your watch ticks slower. Your heart beats slower. Chemical reactions in your body happen slower. Everything about you experiences time at a reduced rate. This is not perception. This is physics. Space changes too. When you move very fast, distances in your direction of motion shrink, not because something is physically squeezing you, because space itself contracts. A meter stick moving past you at 90 to 9% light speed is not 1 meter long anymore. It is shorter. Measured by you watching it go by, it is genuinely shorter. The atoms in the stick are closer together in that reference frame. This is real. These effects, time dilation and length contraction, are exactly what is needed to make light always travel at the same speed for everyone. The universe bends time and space to preserve that constant. Think about what this means. There is an exchange rate between space and time. You can trade one for the other, and the exchange rate is the speed of light. The speed of light is not just how fast light goes. It is a conversion factor built into the structure of reality itself. Einstein wrote down the relationship between energy, mass, and this speed. E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Why squared? Because that is the geometry of space-time. That is how space and time fit together. The speed of light appears in this equation not because light is involved, but because that speed is the fundamental ratio between energy and mass. Every piece of matter contains energy equal to its mass times that number again. The amount of energy locked inside matter is staggering. 1 kilogram of mass converts to 90 quadrillion joules of energy. That is the energy released by 21 megatons of TNT. The Hiroshima bomb converted less than 1 gram of matter into energy. Less than 1 gram. And it destroyed a city. The speed of light squared tells you how much energy is hiding inside every object around you. Your phone.
Your hand. A paperclip.
Unimaginable amounts of energy locked up by the mass energy equivalence. And that equivalence exists because of how space-time is structured, because of that limiting speed. So why can you not just push something past light speed? Get a powerful enough engine, apply enough force, keep accelerating, eventually you cross that barrier. Right? Wrong. And the reason why reveals something deeply strange about what mass actually is. When you try to accelerate an object, you encounter resistance. That resistance is inertia. The object pushes back against your force. The more massive something is, the more it resists acceleration. A bowling ball is harder to push than a tennis ball. This is basic Newtonian mechanics. But Newton got something crucially wrong. He thought mass was fixed. A bowling ball has the same mass whether it is sitting still or flying through the air at 100 kilometers per hour. Turns out that is false. Mass increases with speed, not by much at everyday velocities. The change is tiny, unmeasurable. But as you approach light speed, mass grows rapidly, dramatically. At 90% light speed, an object has more than twice its rest mass. At 99% over 7 times, at 99.9% over 22 times. The closer you get to light speed, the more massive the object becomes, and the more force you need to accelerate it further. This is not a small effect you can engineer around. This is a fundamental barrier. Take a proton. At rest, it has a specific mass. Accelerate it to 99.9999% light speed, which is what we do in particle accelerators, and its mass increases by a factor of over 7,000. 7,000 times heavier just from moving fast. To push it to 99.999, 999% requires doubling that energy again. To get to 99%, you double it again. Each tiny increment closer to light speed demands exponentially more energy. To actually reach light speed, you would need infinite energy, literally infinite. The universe does not contain that much energy. The mass would become infinite. The object would resist acceleration infinitely. You cannot get there. The math does not allow it. Physics does not allow it. We know this is true because we test it constantly. The Large Hadron Collider accelerates protons to 99.999% the speed of light. We measure their mass by how they curve in magnetic fields. The measurements match the predictions exactly. The protons behave as if they are thousands of times heavier than when at rest. When we collide them, the energy released is staggering because of all that kinetic energy locked into their relativistic mass. This is not theory, this is engineering. The collider is designed around these effects. If relativity were wrong, if mass did not increase with velocity, the machine would not work. But it does work. It produces results consistent with Einstein's equations to absurd precision. Here is another test. Cosmic rays. High-energy particles from space constantly bombard Earth's atmosphere. When they hit air molecules, they create showers of other particles. Among them are muons. Muons are like heavy electrons. They are unstable. They decay. Their average lifetime is 2 microseconds, 2 millionths of a second. After that, they fall apart into other particles. Now, these muons are created about 15 kilometers up in the atmosphere. They move fast, close to light speed, but even at that velocity, in 2 microseconds, they should only travel 600 meters before decaying. Simple math. Speed times time equals distance. They should never reach the ground, yet they do. Detectors at sea level measure thousands of muons arriving every second. How? Time dilation.
From our perspective, standing on the ground, the muons are moving so fast that time slows down for them.
Their internal clocks tick slower. Those 2 microseconds stretch out. They live longer as measured by us because their time is running slower. From the muon's perspective, something different happens. In its reference frame, it lives only 2 microseconds, but the distance to the ground contracts. 15 kilometers shrinks to less than 600 meters because of length contraction. Either way you calculate it, the muon reaches the surface. Both perspectives give the same answer. Time dilation and length contraction are 2 sides of the same coin. They both arise from the same geometric structure of spacetime. We use these effects every day. GPS satellites orbit Earth at about 14,000 kilometers per hour. Not particularly fast compared to light speed, but fast enough that relativistic effects matter. Time on the satellites runs slightly faster than time on the ground because they are moving and because they are in a weaker gravitational field. The difference is tiny, about 38 microseconds per day. But GPS works by measuring the time it takes for radio signals to travel from satellites to your phone. Radio signals move at light speed. In 38 microseconds, light travels 11 kilometers. If we did not correct for relativity, GPS would accumulate errors of 11 kilometers per day. Your navigation would be useless within hours. But we do correct for it. The satellites are programmed to adjust their clocks based on relativistic calculations. Because of that, GPS works. You get directions accurate to within meters. You get that accuracy because Einstein was right about time dilation. So what about light itself? Why can light travel at this speed if nothing else can? Because photons have no mass. 0. Not a tiny amount. Actually 0. Massless particles do not experience the mass increase effect. They cannot be at rest. They have no rest mass to increase. They must move at light speed. They have no other option. From the moment a photon is created, it moves at 299,792,458 meters per second. It never accelerates. It never decelerates. It moves at that speed until it is absorbed by something. And because photons have no mass, they experience no time. A photon emitted from a star a billion light years away and absorbed by your eye experiences 0 elapsed time from its own perspective. From its viewpoint, emission and absorption happen simultaneously. The entire journey across the universe is instantaneous. Photons do not age. They do not decay. They exist outside of time. This is what it means to travel at light speed. You stop moving through time entirely. All your motion is through space. Now we get to the deep question, not just how the speed limit works, but why it exists at all. Why does the universe have this built-in maximum? Why is space-time structured this way? The answer takes us into the geometry of reality itself. Space and time are not separate things. They are woven together into a single 4-dimensional fabric called space-time. 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time. But time is not like the spatial dimensions. You can move forward or backward in space. You can only move forward in time. This asymmetry is crucial. It creates a structure in space-time called the light cone. Picture it this way. You exist at a point in space-time, this moment, right now. Everything that could possibly affect you in the future lies within your forward light cone. Everything you could possibly affect lies within your forward light cone, spreading out from this moment. The boundary of that cone expands at light speed. Events outside your light cone cannot affect you yet. There's no affect them yet. The light cone defines causality. Cause and effect can only propagate at light speed or slower. If something could travel faster than light, it could move outside its light cone. It could affect events in regions of space-time that should be causally disconnected. This breaks the universe. Not figuratively, literally breaks the logical structure of cause and effect. Here is why. Relativity tells us that different observers moving at different speeds experience time differently. Events that are simultaneous for you might not be simultaneous for someone moving past you at high velocity. There is no universal now, no absolute present moment shared by everyone. Each observer has their own present, their own ordering of events. This works fine as long as nothing travels faster than light. But allow faster than light travel, and you create paradoxes. You can construct scenarios where an event causes something to happen before it happened. Effect precedes cause. Messages arrive before they are sent. You can send information into your own past. The grandfather paradox becomes physically possible. You could prevent your own existence. The universe does not allow this. The speed of light limit enforces causality. It prevents time travel paradoxes. It maintains the logical consistency of reality. Think about what this means. The speed of light is not a speed limit on motion. It is a speed limit on information, on causality, on how fast one event can influence another. The universe has a maximum rate at which changes can propagate. That rate happens to be 299,792,458 meters per second. Light travels at this rate because light carries information. Electromagnetic waves, propagating through space, carry energy and momentum from one place to another. They cannot do so faster than the causal speed limit. Gravity also propagates at this speed. If the sun suddenly vanished, we would not feel the change in gravitational pull for 8 minutes. That is how long it takes for the information about the sun's disappearance to travel the distance to Earth at light speed. Now let us go deeper into quantum mechanics. The vacuum of space is not empty. It seethes with activity. Virtual particles pop into existence in matter-antimatter pairs, exist for fleeting instants, and annihilate. This is not speculation. We measure the effects. The Casimir effect, for instance. Place two metal plates very close together in a vacuum. Fewer virtual particles can exist between the plates than outside them because the space is constrained. This creates a pressure difference. The plates are pushed together by the vacuum itself. We have measured this force. It matches quantum field theory predictions. The vacuum has structure. It has energy. And that structure respects the light speed limit. Virtual particles cannot propagate information faster than light. The quantum foam underlying spacetime itself is constrained by this maximum speed. Black holes push this limit to its extreme. When enough mass concentrates in a small enough volume, gravity becomes so intense that spacetime curves back on itself. The escape velocity at the surface, called the event horizon, equals the speed of light. Inside that boundary, all paths through spacetime lead inward. You cannot escape, not because you lack thrust, because every direction you could move, including what you think of as upward, actually leads deeper in. Time and space swap roles inside a black hole. Moving forward in time means moving toward the singularity. You cannot avoid it any more than you can avoid tomorrow. The event horizon exists precisely at the distance where the required escape velocity equals light speed. That is not coincidental. The speed of light defines what is possible. It defines the boundary between regions of spacetime that can communicate and regions that cannot. Here is the truly mind-bending part. Some physicists argue that the speed of light is not just a property of our universe, but a logical necessity for any consistent universe. The value could be different. Some universe might have a maximum speed of 100 million meters per second instead of almost 300 million. But there must be some maximum. Without it, causality collapses. Information could travel infinitely fast. There would be no separation between here and there, now and then. The entire universe would be a single point in causal contact with itself at all times. No structure could form. No change could propagate. No events could be distinguished from one another. Time itself would be meaningless. A universe without a light speed limit is not just unlikely. It is incoherent. It cannot exist. Our universe has this limit, this specific number, and because of that number, because of how space-time is stitched together with this conversion factor between space and time, we get structure, we get causality, we get a universe where events happen in sequence, where causes precede effects, where the past is fixed and the future is open. We get a cosmos that makes sense. The speed of light is not arbitrary, it is fundamental. It is woven into the deepest mathematical descriptions of reality. Maxwell's equations of electromagnetism contain it. The equations predict electromagnetic waves that propagate at a specific speed determined by properties of empty space itself, the permittivity and permeability of the vacuum. When you multiply those numbers together in the right way, out comes the speed of light. It emerges from the structure of space. It is not added on, it is intrinsic. Einstein saw this. He recognized that this speed appearing in Maxwell's equations was not just the speed of light, but something more fundamental, a cosmic speed limit built into the fabric of existence. He built his theory of relativity on that insight, and every test since has confirmed it. Particle accelerators, GPS satellites, gravitational wave detectors that measure ripples in space-time itself, propagating at light speed.
Observations of distant supernova.
Measurements of the cosmic microwave background. All of it consistent with this framework. All of it confirming that space-time has this structure, this geometry, this built-in maximum rate of change. We have subjected this idea to over a century of experimental scrutiny. It has passed every test. It is as solid as anything in science. So when you ask why nothing can go faster than light, the answer is this: because space-time itself is designed with a maximum causal speed. Because the geometry of reality has a conversion factor between space and time. Because allowing faster than light travel would break causality and create logical paradoxes. Because information cannot propagate infinitely fast without collapsing the distinction between here and there, now and then. The speed of light is not a barrier imposed on the universe. It is the shape of the universe. It is the exchange rate between dimensions. It is the heartbeat of causality. You cannot break it because there is nothing to break. You might as well try to make a triangle with 4 sides. You might as well try to make 2 + 2 = 5. Some things are not prohibited by physical law. They are prohibited by logic itself, by the self-consistency of mathematics, by the structure of reality at its most fundamental level. The speed of light limit is one of those things. It is not a rule. It is the board on which the game is played, and we are only beginning to understand how beautiful that board truly is.